Top 10 Wildest Reasons People Try to Kill a U.S. President. Assassination attempts on U.S. presidents have ranged from political to downright bizarre. While some attackers acted out of ideology, others were driven by delusions, paranoia, or personal grievances. Only 4 presidents have been assassinated, but many more have faced attempts on their lives for reasons as strange as believing they were the rightful king of England or blaming the government for chronic stomach pain. Here are 10 of the most absurd motives behind these deadly plots. Number 1. To get back at the FBI, Sarah Jane Moore. At first glance, Sarah Jane Moore seemed like an ordinary single mother trying to support her children. However, beneath her everyday persona, she lived a double life, first as a radical activist and then as an informant for the FBI. Moore's paranoia grew after the FBI cut ties with her. Feeling abandoned and convinced she was now a target, she decided to act before the government could. On September 22, 1975, outside the St. Francis Hotel in San Francisco, she fired a single shot at President Gerald Ford. The bullet narrowly missed, thanks to the intervention of a bystander, former Marine Oliver Sipple, who grabbed her arm just in time. In a 1982 interview, Moore justified her actions by saying she believed the government was planning to kill her. "If the government was going to kill me, I was going to make some kind of statement," she claimed. She later admitted she was wrong and expressed regret, saying, "I am sorry I missed." Number 2. He was trying to break through the alien mist, Francisco Martin Duran. Bill Clinton's presidency saw several assassination attempts, but few were as bizarre as that of Francisco Martin Duran. On October 29, 1994, Duran fired 29 rounds at the White House from an SKS semi-automatic rifle, aiming at a group of men he believed included Clinton. Luckily, Clinton was not among them, and no one was injured. Duran's legal defense took a bizarre turn when he pleaded insanity, claiming he was trying to save the world from an alien mist that was connected to extraterrestrials via an umbilical cord stretching to Colorado. The prosecution, however, dismissed this as a desperate attempt to escape punishment. Witnesses testified that Duran had previously expressed violent anti-Clinton sentiments. Ultimately, the court found him guilty, sentencing him to 40 years in prison. Even among failed assassins, Duran's reasoning remains one of the most outlandish. Number 3. He hated Catholics, Richard Paul Pavlik. In 1960, John F. Kennedy's election as the first Catholic U.S. president was historic, but for Richard Paul Pavlik, it was a nightmare. A retired 73-year-old postal worker from New Hampshire, Pavlik saw Catholicism as a dangerous foreign influence that threatened American democracy. He believed that Kennedy, a Boston-born Catholic, was a puppet of the Vatican, part of a conspiracy to place America under papal rule. Pavlik had long harbored extremist views, often writing angry letters to newspapers and making threats against political figures. But as Kennedy's campaign gained momentum, his paranoia spiraled. Determined to prevent a Catholic takeover, he rigged his 1950 Buick with dynamite, planning to assassinate Kennedy before he could take office. On December 11, 1960, Pavlik stalked Kennedy to his vacation home in Palm Beach, Florida. He waited outside, prepared to detonate the explosives as Kennedy left the house. But when he saw the president-elect step outside with his wife, Jacqueline, and their 2 small children, he hesitated. Whether it was a moment of conscience or a belief that he'd get another chance, Pavlik held back. He was arrested days later after a suspicious postmaster reported his threatening letters. When authorities searched his car, they found 7 sticks of dynamite wired to explode. Though he was initially declared insane, charges were later dropped due to his deteriorating health. Was Pavlik's hesitation an act of conscience, or was he simply waiting for a better opportunity? Let us know what you think in the comments. Number 4. To make marijuana legal, Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez. Not all assassins aim to change history, some just want to change drug laws. In 2011, Oscar Ramiro Ortega Hernandez fired several shots at the White House, hitting a second-floor window. It took the Secret Service 4 days to realize the building had been hit. Ortega Hernandez, convinced he was on a mission from God, claimed that President Barack Obama was the Antichrist and had to be stopped. He also insisted that Obama was oppressing Americans by criminalizing marijuana. His actions resulted in a 25-year prison sentence. While most pro-legalization activists prefer lobbying over bullets, Ortega Hernandez believed violence was the answer. Number 5. To save the trees, Lynette Squeaky Fromm. A devoted follower of Charles Manson, Lynette Squeaky Fromm was more than just a cult member, she was an environmental extremist. In 1975, she attempted to assassinate Gerald Ford, but her motivation was less about Ford himself and more about the California redwoods. Fromm saw Ford's administration as an enemy of nature, particularly for its policies on logging and pollution. She later claimed she only meant to get attention for Manson's ideology, stating, "I wasn't going to shoot him. I just wanted to get some attention for a new trial for Charlie and the girls." Had she succeeded, it would have been one of the strangest environmentally motivated murders in history. Do you think she was truly an environmental activist, or was this just another way to promote the Manson cult? Share your thoughts in the comments. Number 6. He wanted a job, Charles Guteo. Unemployment can be tough, but Charles Guteo took rejection to an extreme level. A failed lawyer and self-proclaimed political expert, Guteo had convinced himself that he was responsible for James Garfield's election victory in 1880. In return, he demanded a government job, specifically, an ambassadorship to France. When his requests were repeatedly ignored, Guteo saw no other option but to kill Garfield. On July 2, 1881, he shot the president at a train station, leading to Garfield's death months later. Guteo's courtroom antics became legendary. He represented himself, recited poetry, and even danced. Before his execution, he declared, "I am going to the Lordy," and sang on the gallows. Number 7. To impress a girl, John Hinckley Jr. Some men buy flowers, others write poetry. John Hinckley Jr. tried to assassinate a president. Obsessed with actress Jodie Foster after watching Taxi Driver, Hinckley believed that by killing President Ronald Reagan, he would win her love. On March 30, 1981, he fired 6 shots outside the Washington Hilton, hitting Reagan, Press Secretary James Brady, and 2 others. Reagan survived, but Brady suffered permanent injuries. Foster, then 18, was horrified. She later stated that she never wanted any connection to Hinckley. After decades in psychiatric care, Hinckley was released in 2016. Today, he writes music and maintains a YouTube channel, an eerie epilogue to one of the strangest assassination attempts in U.S. history. Number 8. He wanted to be king, Richard Lawrence. In 1835, Richard Lawrence, an unemployed house painter, believed he was the rightful king of England. He also thought that President Andrew Jackson was hoarding his wealth. On January 30, Lawrence fired 2 pistols at Jackson outside the U.S. Capitol, both misfired. Jackson, furious, beat Lawrence with his cane until he was subdued. Lawrence was found insane and institutionalized, leaving behind one of the most ridiculous assassination attempts in history. Number 9. He had a stomachache, Giuseppe Zangara. In 1933, Italian immigrant Giuseppe Zangara attempted to assassinate Franklin D. Roosevelt because he suffered from chronic stomach pain. He blamed capitalism for his suffering, believing that his poverty and labor-intensive jobs had caused his condition. At a speech in Miami, Zangara fired at Roosevelt but missed, hitting Chicago Mayor Anton Cermak instead. Cermak later died, and Zangara was executed weeks later, declaring, "I kill kings and presidents for my class." Number 10. A ghost told him to, John Schrank. John Schrank attempted to kill Theodore Roosevelt in 1912 after claiming to have a vision where President William McKinley's ghost told him to avenge his death. Schrank shot Roosevelt in the chest, but Roosevelt, ever the warrior, continued his speech, saying, "It takes more than that to kill a bull moose." Schrank spent the rest of his life in a mental institution, but his failed attempt only strengthened Roosevelt's legend.